you know,
in the blood of a G-Jazz.
Well, he messaged me. He messaged me to apologize, you know? He was like, hey, Ed, I saw that episode with you on David So's Genius Brain, and I just want to say I'm sorry, you know, because I was a jerk and like full of, you know, his head was really big because he was doing really well as an artist at the time.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, this podcast is about everything and everything, basically.
Everything. Yeah. I mean, that I just heard your China Mac podcast. That was so fucking crazy.
And let me tell you something.
Literally
man.
Everything.
My ass was sweating throughout the whole podcast.
Dude, I was blown away. It's one of my favorite episodes you've had.
You know what's interesting about that? I don't know if I ever have an objective when I do a podcast, right?
Yeah.
But I knew stuff about him, obviously, before the podcast. I just didn't know these stories in depth.
Yeah.
Right. So when he was saying, people are like, oh, I thought you already knew who he was. It's like, yeah, I know the stories here and there, but he's going into detail. It's blowing my fucking mind because I'm not going to research him all the way. I want there to be discovery on this podcast as well.
They're acting like this is First We Feast. Like you're going to like shock him with something he doesn't, you know about him that he doesn't know some shit, you know?
I know. I was like,
you
well,
did your research.
It's crazy because your father's here right now.
Just walks through the door.
He just comes through, son, please forgive me.
Dude.
No. He's Vietnamese now. I don't know. God damn it. But, you know, when he came on the podcast, it was kind of dope to see this dude who people talk about believing in reform.
Yeah.
But they don't really get to see it.
Right.
You know, and one of the biggest takeaways that I actually had from that podcast was that his biggest catalyst for change was his mom. Right. And now I see why he's so angry when he sees all these Asian attacks.
Yeah.
He sees his mom.
Yeah.
All the time. The one person that believed in him, even when he was in prison, his friends, his family, his gang, none of that shit. Nobody checked in on him except for his mother. And so now he's in this position where he actually projects a lot of this rage because he sees his mother being in that same position. She lives in New York. She walks around, and imagine that happening to his mom. Right.
And people just stand around and shit. That vulnerability was scary.
That's scary in the getting threat. It's like, oh man, look at him. He's opening up.
Yeah. Like what were you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But then like, you know, masculine like vulnerability is a positive, real thing. Like we
100%.
should be this way. But, you know, like the back of our mind is that we're going to laugh at this because, you know, oh, that's China Mac and whatever. But man, that's just fucking realness. Yeah. Yeah. And his anger was so real with it, right? Like I said this once on the Just Kidding news, like, you know, when I'm laughing about my shit, like the other thing I'm going to do if I don't laugh is cry.
What other options are there?
Because, you know, these are tragedies, or it's like I mentioned the, you know, those drama faces, like, and like you see the crying face and the laughing face. I never understood that until like later in life, where it's like you experience a tragedy or trauma or whatever, and you can look at it and you have two options, man. Like laugh or be angry and cry, you know? It's just like, it's just a coping mechanism to how we deal with trauma in our lives, right? Yeah. And it's just like all those emotions are so real. And that's why this podcast is so dope. Because, you know, people will come in with an agenda, right? And they put on a character, right? And a voice when they talk to you. That was so fucking real.
Yeah, man. Like getting to know him was a real blessing because it's like I've known people kind of like him, right? But that's when I was a lot younger. And I haven't been able to reconnect with some of these dudes now that I'm older. It's been like, what, 10, 15 years? Yeah. I haven't seen these guys. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know if they're reformed. Some of these dudes are in prison. Some of them are dead. So it's to see this guy I mean, obviously he still has like his, you know, his upbringing is still how he speaks and how, you know, how he views the world, which is all there. You know, a lot of people might agree or disagree with his approach. But for him to be able to explain that nuance was very important, right? Because he was also talking about on the podcast how I think a lot of people wonder why he chooses violence.
Yeah.
Right? They go, what do you mean? Like, why can't you just speak up about things? He goes, well, that's not how I grew up.
Yeah.
When he was in the group homes and stuff, the moment people stopped fucking with him was when he physically had to stand up for himself. People were spitting gum in his hair, slapping him upside the head. And he goes, the moment I started fucking people up is when they started respecting me.
Yeah.
And that's just the world that he comes from. And, you know, for me too, I was trying to get, my point was too, is like, I agree with him, but, you know, not all the time.
Yeah.
You know, just different worlds.
I bring it up every now and then to a close friend, and I do believe in violence.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just because of my upbringing too. Like, because I had to survive around these fucking racists, you know, through middle school, high school, or whatever. And yeah, if I fought back, yeah, a lot of people would say, "Don't fuck with him. He knows kung fu."
That's tight.
It's like, no, I don't.
Yeah, you damn straight I do. And you just do the crane.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
No, but yeah. Did I tell you this story? I had this regular black customer. He's a really good friend of my dad's from back in the day. And then every now and then he'd come in and call me Jimmy, because that's what he called my dad. But it's because I look like him, and he'd just slip up. One day I asked him, because, you know, we're in fucking rural area. There's nobody around. He's like one of 6 black people in the neighborhood. And I was at the end of my rope pretty much with the bullshit that was going on. And I just asked him behind the counter. I was like, hey man, how long have you lived here? He's like, close to like 25 years. He has a really raspy voice. Like, how do you deal with these people, man? These people are fucking crazy and racist. He goes, you know what I do? I fuck them up.
Shit.
Yeah. He just looks me in the eye. He goes, next time one of these motherfuckers fuck with you, fuck them up. You know?
And then you're like, dude, that's a really good Aquafina impression. Yeah.
I think you got a little hairball down there.
Hey, I love Aquafina. Shout out to Aquafina, but you got one of the ashiest voices I've ever heard in my life. She sounds like the Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah. Cookie Monster.
Yeah. She's like the Cookie Monster. Dude, her voice always shocks me every time. It's like, damn, girl, you need a lozenge, maybe a couple of glass of water or some shit.
Honey and lemon.
Some honey and lemon. I don't know what the fuck it is. We got to lube that shit up, baby. But yeah, when you saw that video of the lady getting punched in the face, right?
You know, I didn't. Okay, because he said it too. Like, he's tired of like the neck shark, that Asian Dawn, and jackfruit or whatever. I had to stop following that. It's news. Yeah, it's stuff we should know.
It eats at you though.
It eats at me. It gives me crazy. I'll start shaking. I'll have a little sweat and just get fucking angry. And there's nothing I can do about it, you know?
You know, it's weird, right? Because now they're floating into this weird space of, am I doing this because I'm trying to raise awareness, or because is it a mix of that, and also because it gets views and eyes?
Views, eyes, clicks, shares, you know, and with no end game. Like, okay,
trauma porn.
Yeah, there's exactly. There's a donation link, I guess, but then it's like, in my heart, I want justice, you know, like, and so as he was saying that's what I appreciated about your part was that you weren't trying to debate him and argue with him like, no, we need to be peaceful and whatever. It's like he was truly expressing himself. These are real human feelings. Are they progressive? Are they nice? Are they actual solutions? Maybe not. There's a debate behind that, but that's why I think it's one of my favorite episodes, because he was being so real.
Yeah, and there's no point in me telling him how he should deal with his own personal situations, right? Because a lot of people think things in black and white.
Yeah.
There's this huge gray area in between, right? And when you get to hear his story and how he has dealt with his adversity, and listen, when you look at the video, right? If you see the video of that woman being attacked, it's actually heartbreaking. Like, yeah. I've seen a lot of videos, but I'm talking about this guy. He's deranged. He's crazy, as it always is. Yeah. Comes up and he punches this lady so hard in the face, she actually knocks out dead cold. Like, slumped over on a pole like this, just knocked out, just completely laid out. And the hard part about that video, and we talked about on the podcast, was watching how, listen, I understand, and I've been in that position before. I've told the story on this podcast where I saw somebody get robbed in front of me, and then by the time they were gone, I was like, wait! You know, like,
yeah, I mean, I get there's a shock factor.
Yeah, there's like this. It's just the bystander effect or something like that. I forgot what the exact terminology is, but I think when we see that, and from the world that he comes from, he expects rage and retaliation, right?
Yeah.
But instead, you see people just going up to the lady like, hey, are you okay? Kind of after about like 30 or 40 seconds. And they look at this guy and they do nothing to the dude. And they just let him just stand there and watch this lady as she's knocked down on the floor. So it's hard to watch. And look, I'm always talking about how there's different generations that people would have dealt with things differently. I don't think I would have been a part of that though. I think I would have knocked that dude out cold.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't sit there and watch that shit. I knocked him out cold or take him to the floor and had his hands behind his back or something.
Yeah. You can't just let them get away with it. I mean, a long time ago, I think it was just close to 10 years ago. There was a YouTuber, he was at UCLA and it was like a prank kind of thing. And he was faking like he was a bully and he was bullying this dude straight up, like pushing him around, taking his bag, just demeaning him. But in the video, like it's UCLA, there's hella Asian kids watching it happen and walking away. And by the end, he's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Why isn't anyone doing anything? And in the comments, it became a thing about how Asians don't fucking stand up for anything, right?
Yeah.
And I was pissed. I was like, hey, man, you were in this situation where these people's cultures are da-da-da. And now 10 years later, and this shit is really, really happening. And then I had it happen in my life. I see where he stands with that anger. It's just like, don't you guys care?
Yeah, yeah.
You know? I was saying the same thing with when I'm experiencing this crazy kind of fucking trauma where I have to be on my toes because somebody wants to fucking fight me, someone wants to assault me or say some racist shit. I go to church because I need to see some Korean faces, then realize that they don't fucking care. You know, I show up and I post all these crazy videos on my Instagram and they just be like, dang, that's crazy. That's it. Like, dude, help me.
I wonder if it's like, they look at that and they go, I have to worry about my own stuff, right? Because I wonder like if in Asian culture it has to do with, you know, dealing with what's like pertinent in terms of, you know, making money, taking care of my personal family versus like, well, that stuff is going to work out, you know, because we trust our government, the police will take care of it.
I understand that on a macro level because we said this over the shootings in Atlanta. Like we are literally almost 2,000 miles away. Like plus what can we exactly do? But these were supposedly my friends. Yeah. I see these people every week.
Your mom, she's like, I am. That's crazy.
Yeah. So even my mom's like, why are you so angry? Be nice.
I want to die. I'm going to go see Jesus.
Exactly. And so I see why China Mac was also explaining, like, that's a street I grew up on. Like, old Chinese dude that just kind of sit around. It's like, we see them kind of thing, loitering or whatever. But then to see them do nothing is hard. Like hard.
I mean, he said he wanted to go up and smack every single fucking one of them.
Yeah.
And I do feel that way too. It does put me in a state of like disappointment. Like you couldn't do anything. Like, I'm not asking you to kill the guy, but refrain him, like check up on her a little faster. I don't know, man.
It makes us like fit the stereotype though, doesn't it? That fucking weak kind of Asian male stereotype of doing nothing about it.
You know, when you bring up that whole, and like in college too, I remember there was this, when I went to UCR, it was the first time I went to a university. You know, I lived in a very small bubble. Going to college was a really big deal for me, right? Yeah. Even though it was UCR, it was a university that would accept me. And UCR, I think, has, I think in terms of like the diversity pool, it's a lot bigger than a lot of these other universities in California, right? And just this one time, and I mentioned the story before, just to kind of go back to that point where I watched this kid, it was outside of the commissary room, right, where we get food. But there was these two white dudes that were bullying this one Asian kid. And, you know, they knew who he was. They went to high school together before they went to college. Yeah. I don't know whether this kid, and the thing about it was I got so fucking mad. And I remember I walked up, shoved the dude and whatever. And I started threatening the dude. And the guy was like, whoa, we're just fucking joking around, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Told me to get the fuck out of here before I beat their fucking ass. I'm fucking pissed. And I look at the Asian guy and I was more mad at the Asian dude than I was at the two white boys. Yeah. Because he just stood there and if I saw that kid now, I could still remember what he fucking looked like because of how pissed I was at him.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't do anything. And I literally looked at him. I was like, dude, the next time you do some stupid shit, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass too. Like, I'm like threatening this kid too because I'm so fucking mad because he's letting these two white boys just punk him for no fucking reason. He was taking it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to stand up for yourself. And that also has to do with me, my problem with like projecting my younger self onto him. When I was a kid, that used to happen to me too. And that shit stopped when I stood up for myself. And I've said this before a million times on this podcast. When I was a kid, even if I got bullied for being the fat kid with glasses, I was going to make sure that I was the most difficult kid to bully. You'll probably move on to somebody else. And it really did happen that way.
Yeah.
So when I saw that kid, that Asian kid, just, having these ching chong jokes said to him getting pushed against this locker. And I'm like, bro, stand up for yourself. These dudes aren't even that fucking big. And then when I shoved this fucking guy with all of my fucking might, he was like, oh, what the hell? I'm just joking. You little fucking pussy. And I was like, that's all you had to do. And you couldn't do it. And it's just a reflection of us as males. Maybe it's a reflection of me. Like, I see him representing me as well. I don't know. This podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you haven't focused on your mental health this year, now is the time to start. Listen, we've been cooped up, tense, and honestly, we know the importance of our mental health. So let's stop pushing our thoughts, emotions, and feelings aside and get the help we need. See, BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You don't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room, and you can message your counselor at any time while setting up weekly video phone sessions. It's super convenient, and more importantly, it allows you to be safe in your own comfortable environment. And that personally helps me a lot. I've used BetterHelp and it was honestly amazing. And I get to talk to my counselor whenever I need him. So give it a try. You have nothing to lose. It's super convenient. Give it a go, my friends. So remember, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Genius Brain listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/genius.
So, I mean, I told you I was part of YWAM, right?
Yeah.
And their headquarters is in Kona, Hawaii.
Okay.
Right. It's a really big like campus. And like on certain quarters, it's like 50% Korean because I guess Koreans is the second largest company or per capita country to send out missionaries next to the USA.
Okay.
And then it's like Norway or something. And so on this base, there's just be hella Koreans from Korea. And all the Korean Americans are like shitheads, like bad kids that their parents force them to go to this thing.
Like, where's the fucking cigarette, dude? I need to smoke.
Exactly. We'd go off campus to smoke.
Yeah, of course.
But one of my friends who went through, he's a pastor now, but he's all tatted up. He went to jail and shit. He's from Atlanta. He was telling me like when he was taking classes there too, like, it was one of those quarters where it's just like a bunch of Koreans and, they play basketball too. So they've had basketball games. And then he said he just saw one of these white kids just be like, do you know how to play basketball? Basketball. You know what this is? Huh? And like just patronizing him like and just being a major douche. And these are fucking missionaries and Christians.
My God.
And he did the same thing. He went up to that kid and he's like, what are you doing? Huh? What the fuck are you doing? Like he just let it out. He's like, if I ever see you do that again, I will fucking kick your ass. And he said he turned to the Korean guy and he started yelling at him in Korean to stand up for himself too. And they almost kicked him out.
Wow.
Kicked my friend out for being that way. Instead of the fucking white kids that are so fucking racist on that campus.
How crazy is that shit?
You hear me? YWAM? Kona? You have a fucking racism problem. I hope you guys and all your friends who know YWAM is, let them know there's a fucking racism problem there, man.
How weird is that? How that happens is where this person who is, being a little racist shithead, they like, oh, well, this guy's too aggressive. It's like, well, hold on a second. What's the reason why this happened? Like people don't ever look into that shit. It's just such an odd thing because it's acceptable.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what's the problem here?
And it's unacceptable for us to be angry.
Yeah. Well, he was just asking him if he knew how to play a little basketball. Like what the fuck?
And it's like, how do we, when we see that kind of behavior, right? How do we come to trust them then? Mm-hmm. How do we start to begin to trust you? Like I'm supposed to be on missions with these people, And one of the guys in my class was from Virginia, hardcore Southern pride dude.
Wow.
Like Dixie flag, everything. At volleyball courts, like I'm sitting on the bleachers with him and I'm just questioning him. And I'm like, hey man, why do you rock that shit so hard?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not racist. It's heritage.
Well, your heritage is racist.
It's fucking racist, man. It was about states' rights. Yeah, you're right to keep slaves.
Yeah, you fucking dummy.
And they they don't actually fucking know a goddamn thing about what the hell's going on. Like from then, they like literally sweep it on the rug. Just like, this is my culture. Like, what?
There's even certain towns, like there's a, I mean, you guys could probably correct me if I'm wrong about this, but there was a place near Sacramento called El Dorado Hills. And I think like the mascot of this thing was somebody on a noose because it was called Hangtown.
Wow.
And, you know, it was the same argument. It's like, wow, you're trying to take down our heritage. I got this black man hanging right here. What's the problem? Like,
oh my God.
What do you mean? Like, I get it. Just put it in a fucking museum.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to put it in the fucking, the center of the town, dude. Put it in a fucking museum. Right. And in that area too, like they found out through realtors that there's a certain clause when people were buying homes. I mean, it didn't affect who the home buyers were, but they didn't review the rules of the town in over like 100 years.
Yeah.
And El Dorado Hills at the time was like a mining town or some shit, like a pit stop or some shit. And one of the rules was that there was no black people allowed to live in the neighborhood. And when you read the contract or when you were signing the papers for the neighborhood or the area, it was still there that there was no black people allowed.
Oh my gosh.
Like Negroes weren't allowed.
Oh God.
Like, you know, the history of this country it's embedded here. And, you know, we talk about this. Slavery wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And on top of that too, like just basic decent human rights given to people of color was only given recently. It's not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's hard for people to kind of really recognize that and accept that. So because they feel like they're being punished for what people have done in the past.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we get that, but we can't be dismissive of what this country has stood for so fucking long. And it's only been until recently that we're, you know, and even now too, we talk about equality, but people don't see it now, even till this day. Things are just kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah.
It's hard to deal with.
I mean, it reminds me of like, okay, so I don't know if this is a sidestep, but then I just finally finished Attack on Titan.
Okay.
And I saw the entire big picture of what all this was about, right? Mm-hmm. Like the sins of the past, like people they don't even know or hardly connected to except by blood or something. Like I get it. Like should people today have to pay for, you know, what happened in the past, or is it going to continue this perpetual cycle of hate and war and killing?
Do you know Korean people who just hate Japanese people, like straight up?
Used to be me.
It's like, I'm talking about it myself.
Yeah, I had to be reformed.
Dude, there was this kid named Andrew Jang, and he hated Japanese people. This guy was the weirdest person I've ever met.
But he always be like, do you know what they did?
Yeah, no,
why do you eat sushi?
Dude, this guy hated Japanese people, dude.
Yeah.
He hated all like the third, fourth generation Japanese people here that were like their grandparents were in internment camps. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? They were put in internment camps. They have nothing to do with what's going on over there. But this fool, whenever the topic of like Japan came up, he would just flip the fuck out. He hated them so much. I actually saw this dude's dick multiple times. I didn't want to see his dick. Like you know how I first met this fool? So in Korea, we have like ginjerbangs, like saunas, right? So, you know, when you're in the bathroom or you're butt naked or whatever, you know, this is not how we do it in the fucking States.
Yeah.
So this guy, there's two people, and I mentioned this before, that my Kim Jong-il character was created from. It was this guy, Andrew Jang, and then my Komobu, my uncle, on my dad's side. So this fool, I went into my friend's dorm. My buddy Scott lived in this dorm called AI. And I was spending the night over there because I was like, I'm not going to go back to my dorm. I'm just going to crash here. So I go into the bathroom to brush my fucking teeth, and I see this dude butt naked over a sink with his dick out, just no muscle on his body whatsoever. He just looked like a sack of jello. And he's just brushing his teeth and his little kochu just wagging back and forth like a little puppy's tail. Just...
He's not moving the brush. He's moving his body.
Just brushing his teeth and his dick just wiggling. And he turns it over, and I look at him. I just go, okay. Just close the door, and then I go back and I wait, and that's the first time I ever saw him. And because that was so traumatizing to me, I remember he came out the bathroom. He had a white wife beater on, blue basketball shorts, these black flip-flops, and a white towel over his neck.
Yeah.
And I just was traumatized. I was like, what the fuck? Happened to me twice. And then finally somebody came up to me and was like, hey bro, no dicks out in the bathroom, man.
Yeah.
Like, keep that in the shower. This is typically not what we do. And he learned the hard way. This guy was so fucking odd though, because there was a guy named Daryl Ijima. He was one of the dorm mates.
Japanese dude.
Yeah, fourth generation Japanese guy, right? His mom worked for the post office and shit, as American as it gets. And Daryl would be trying to come into the dorm room while we're kicking it and talking, right? So one night it was me, our buddy Young, and then a few other people. I think it was Scott and some other people. We were chilling in the dorm, just chopping it up, just listening to Andrew's like bullshit stories about how cool he was in high school. Like, he was very obscure, dude. I'm talking about this guy one time out of nowhere. He just goes, "Hey, you want to see my girlfriend?"
Wait, is he Bob from Korea?
He's Bob from Korea. Do you want to see my girlfriend? And it goes, okay, well, show. He gets up super fast, goes to his closet, brings out his yearbook, flips through the page, picks the hottest white girl. He goes, "That's my girlfriend."
Okay.
I'm like, bro, I've never seen somebody lie so hard in my fucking life. "This is my girlfriend." That's his voice. What do you like? "This is my girlfriend." Right? So he shows us this picture of this random hot girl. I'm like, "Yo, shut the fuck up." He goes, "No, this is my girlfriend." I'm like, "No, it's not, bro."
Oh my gosh.
And this is the conversation that we're having before Daryl comes in. Daryl literally walks in the room. He looks at Daryl and Jim and he goes, "You Japanese, get out." What? He goes, "Get out." And I'm like, "What the fuck?
Wow.
What's going on?" And then me and my buddy Young, I'm looking at this like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "He's a Japanese. Get out. I don't like a Japanese people." Yeah, because he carried this animosity and hate for Japan because of, the Korean pride or whatever.
Right.
That's just who he was. He was very weird, dude.
I mean, that's one thing to carry like your parents or your grandfather's hate with you, Like, I mean, there's inspiration to be had, like, if your grandfather was a freedom fighter or this and that. But to carry along the hate that they carried with them is stupid.
Dude, this guy literally said the most racist shit all the time about the craziest things. I'm telling you, because of him, I probably owe him royalties for Kim Jong-il. The first time we went to a Walmart, right? Yeah. Out of nowhere, where Daryl is driving us. I don't even think he knows that Daryl is Japanese at this point, because this is when we first met him. And so we all went to Walmart together to get stuff for us that we needed in the dorms, right? Daryl was the one with the car. So we go to fucking Walmart, and out of nowhere, I shit you not, he goes, "Hey, do you know why there's a lot of black people have a kids?" And we're like, "Why?" "Teen pregnancy." And I'm like, "What the fuck is this guy on right now?" And I'm looking, I'm like mad offended. I'm like, "Bro, everybody roll up the fucking windows. We're at a Walmart right now. This guy's gonna get our fucking ass beat." This dude was weird, dude. This other dude named Herschel, I remember one time, because we used to fuck with this guy so much because of how odd he was, and he was mad racist. So he got so mad because this dude Herschel went on Photoshop and he put a picture of his face and superimposed it on this photo of Dwayne Wade dunking, but he put on Dwayne Wade's dick.
Low effort, but high returns.
And this dude got pissed, right?
Is that Brack?
Yeah, he said "Brack a penis in my face." What the hell, man? But he left his Facebook open, so he put that as his profile pic, and it was just him with fucking hit him on Dwayne Wade's dick. So he comes out, and this guy used to always, and this is what I mean when Asian phrases and words like in Korean doesn't translate very well. Right. Like a very common phrase in Korean is "너 죽을래?" Like, do you want to die? But he would always say that in English to people. So he was like a psychopath.
Do you want to die?
Yeah. So he went to Herschel. He goes, "Hey, you want to die?" Right? He goes, "You want to die?" Like, what the fuck is going on? Over this very simple prank. But this is the threat that he gave to him. He goes, "You don't know? I'm a 4th-degree black belt in Taekwondo. I would kick your ass."
Oh my god!
Threat. This guy's so fucking awkward, dude.
It's like, do you know where I come from? From Jail Taekwondo.
Yeah. I'm a kick your ass. This fool used to say the best phrases. There was this other guy named Andrew that was a part of this group called KCCCC, right?
Oh, is that like a student association?
Korean Christian Crusaders for Christ. Nice. Stupidest fucking names ever, dude. You guys need some rebranding. But this other Andrew was also very fucking annoying. And they had this very serious conversation while we were eating dinner at the commissary. And this is what the conversation was. This is how fucking ridiculous these human beings were. Andrew tells him, he goes, "Yeah, I'm a 4th-degree black belt in Taekwondo." And he goes like, "Do what?" And this other guy, Andrew's like, "What are you going to do if I have a gun?" He goes, "I'll just shoot you." He goes, "No, I'm a too past."
and catch the bullet.
Yo, and listen to this part. He goes, I'm too pissed. Before you even shoot me, I have a gun in my hand. Dog. Ed. So they're demonstrating this at the fucking dinner table. This is the one KCCC dinner thing I went to and I never went again. He goes, he goes, fine, this is a gun. This guy grabs a fork, points at him, and he grabs it out of his hand. He goes, see, you're dead. And they start arguing about who would survive, either this guy with the gun or him and his fucking 4th degree Taekwondo black belt skills.
Oh, gosh.
They're legit arguing with each other. I'm like, you guys are the two dumbest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life.
But then, I've met people like that, except they were in their 40s.
Oh my God, dude.
He's like a youth pastor still. I think he's hitting 50s now. But he'd be the craziest egomaniac narcissist who was always talking about how he was a gangpe in his high school and like the stupid gang fights he would have. And
who the fuck cares?
Yeah, it's like, I don't think any of us care about this pastor.
I used to love that shit at church when they would bring these pastors to like reform us. It's like, I used to be in a gang. You know what I used to do? I used to kill people. I was like, dude, none of us here have a gang problem.
Yeah.
Why are you telling us this story? This is the wrong crowd, bro.
Dude, we had this guest pastor once to do a guest sermon, and he's like, when I was in college, I go to the Porsche dealership to test drive, the cars, right? But then I drive it to UW and just drive down the avenue with the top down so people can see me, right? And we're like, okay,
cool
is that
story,
your
bro?
Testimony, right? And he's like, you guys don't do that? oh, okay. Like, what?
Dude, there are so many awkward people, man. Bro, Hold up, my friend. This podcast is brought to you by IPVanish. For those of you who don't know, IPVanish is a VPN or a virtual private network that helps you safely browse the internet. Simply put, if you are on your computer doing just about anything and you don't have a VPN by IPVanish, you are insane. People and web snoopers are all up in your business, and I'm not judging anything you're looking at online, but that's your business and your business alone. Everybody else can kiss ass. Here's everything you get with IPVanish. Anonymous IP addresses. This means your personal IP address can't be tracked by anyone on the web. Circumvent any online censorship and get protection when using public Wi-Fi. So basically, nobody can snoop on your data or see what you're doing online. Yes. So go to ipvanish.com/brain, claim your 65% savings. They have plans starting at just $349 a month or $27.99 a year. This is the time to sign up. IPVanish is the best of the best, even rated 4.7 out of 5 on Trustpilot, and that's with more than 6,000 reviews. So show these guys some love. Remember, it's ipvanish.com/brain to get the deal and start protecting yourself online today. Let me tell you this shit. So there was another kid. He actually turned out to be a really cool dude. And this is where I wish I had a lot of empathy when I was younger, because empathy is very fucking important.
Yeah.
I would have definitely talked to this guy way differently and treated him way differently if I was empathetic.
Right.
But instead I used to beat his ass all the time. So
I was going to say but old David.
But old David beat this fool's ass. And, given he was very, very fucking obnoxious, he knows how fucking annoying he was too. Right. Because when he became really cool later on, I was able to talk to him and converse with him. So at church, his father was a deacon, right?
Yeah.
And this dude actually knew the Bible in and out very fucking well, because his father would, force him to read the Bible. Yeah. But because of his cockiness and his knowledge of the Bible, this dude he would either choose to pretend like he didn't know what he was talking about, or he would shove his Christian knowledge in everybody's face.
Okay.
And this dude was my age. Everybody used to fuck with this guy because he used to get on everybody's nerve on purpose.
Right.
So there was this guy, his name was Chris. I think we used to call him Tank. He was like half Mexican, half Korean. Well, during this time, he was 3 or 4 years older than us. So he was our Bible study teacher, right? He was our interim Bible study teacher before somebody else came in. So one time, and this was like my last straw with him, he used to do shit that used to piss me off. But Chris was making us go around and just read a verse out of the Bible before we can continue Bible study. So it comes to this guy. His name is Daniel. I won't say his last name. He's a nice guy. But Daniel is sitting there. He goes, I'm not going to read. And we're just like, bro, we just want to go and play basketball.
Just get out of here.
Yeah. Can you just finish up the verse, right? And he just goes, no, I'm not going to read it. And then Chris is like, Daniel, can you please read it? Like, so we could just, we could finish up and then we could move on. It's important for, the small group thing. He goes, I'm not going to do it. And he starts laughing and smiling.
Oh, God.
Bro, I got so fucking mad because I just wanted to leave. And this went on. He's arguing with Daniel for maybe 30 seconds, or it felt like an hour, but it was probably like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I got so fucking pissed. And I still remember because at the church, we used to have this like melon bar colored chair that was plastic and it was these chrome handles on the, I grabbed literally the chair with him in it. We're the same age.
Yeah.
I'm like fucking 13 or 14.
Oh, shit.
But I'm this size though. And I literally pick him up in the chair. I lift it up. He's still in the chair and I throw him out of the classroom with the chair. And I fucking slam the door. And then we go back out and then we start doing the church service again. I was so pissed. I literally picked up a dude my age in the same chair and I chucked him out of the bike. And then this dude, Chris, was just shocked. Like, oh, he didn't know what was going on. I was like, bro, just fucking finish up and read this. Like, just do it. And then we finished it up. Let me tell you how much of an asshole this dude was. This dude one time at church pissed off this other fob Korean Bible study teacher so bad. The guy kicked him out of this. He literally threw him out, grabbed him by the scuff of his shirt, threw him out. And when he tried to get up, he kicked him in the ass again. And he shaky kicked him. And he flew out. This guy was such a fucking asshole. But I actually found out when he became really cool. And I actually went back to the church later on for some fucking reason. I don't know why, because I went to a different church for a bit. And I met up with him. I talked to him. And the reason why he was such a fucking asshole was because he hated his life at home. He didn't get along with his mom, didn't get along with his dad because his parents really focused on his younger daughter. His sister was a little brat.
Right.
And he resented his family so fucking much. So what happened was that he would put all that resentment and angst and anger into us. Right. So he would be an asshole and fuck with us because at home he hated being at the house. I didn't know. So instead what I did was I beat the living shit out of him every week. So, I made it worse. I was beating the fucking shit out of this guy because he was being an asshole to me.
Yeah.
But all it took for me was to ask him what was going on. And I never really did that.
Well, that's going to help me a lot to walk through something I'm going through right now. A few weeks before, I told a story about Christian artist Sam Ock, right? About this weird experience where he tried calling me out for ruining someone's career, and that's another weird situation. And then completely just ignoring me the entire day. And I expressed my anger on this podcast, just being like, Sam Ock, if I see you, I'm going to fuck you up.
In the blood of a G-Jazz.
Well, he messaged me. He messaged me to apologize, He's like, hey, Ed, I saw that episode with you on David So's Genius Brain, and I just want to say I'm sorry, because I was a jerk and like full of, his head was really big because he was doing really well as an artist at the time, and that he was just a hypocrite, And then he said, I really want to thank David for having my back, but you didn't have to defend me.
That really wasn't.
But he's also said, if there was a way we could meet up and talk about this, then I would. But all I can say now is just like, I'm sorry,
That's really good of him.
Yeah, and that I'm an inspiration to help him lose weight or some shit. Dude totally disarmed me.
Hey, you took my rage away, man.
All my vitriol is just like shit, right? But as I was texting back, everything I said was, I don't give a fuck, or okay, let me delete that. If I see you, it's like, man, it's because of people like, I didn't have a response, like, unless it was still fucking anger. Like, I still don't know what to say, And when you said about what the hell was going on with that guy back home, and I guess acting like a brat, maybe acting like a sister was gonna, I don't know, do something for him. But for me,
he should have changed his game plan. I was like, bro, you literally got your ass beat every Sunday. You should have switched it up at least, I don't know, at year 6.
This was a different, strategy. But I started saying it was because I still have this fucking resentment over the church and like Korean church people specifically, I think. I felt like maybe everything I want to say about my old home church or like the fucked up pastors I've had in my life or You know, the Christian artists who fucking like left, like really deceived me too, you know? Like, do you know who Phil Wickham is?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, I fucking love his music, dude. And I hate him. I hate him as a person.
Really?
So I used, you know, Pro Presenter, it's like PowerPoint, but you can have like animated backgrounds
Yes.
the lyrics on the screen. I'm pretty fucking good at that shit, you know? And I did it for my friend's album and whenever he'd do live shows. So he opened up for Phil Wickham. And so my friend had a really dope like lyric screen as he was performing because I could sync the lyrics and animation to him playing live. But when Phil Wickham went up, his wife is just kind of clicking next, and it's just black screen with text.
Yeah.
So after the show, Phil Wickham is like, yo, can we sit down? I'm like, what? You want to talk to me?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, dude, those lyric videos, like that program is just like amazing. Like, I want you to go on tour with me this summer. You know, I want you to create animations for my lyrics. I want you, because like I rely on this, you know, because it's worship, you know, everybody sings along, but he wants to have like a visual presentation. And we're just chopping it up and I'm getting so much praise from this guy. He's like, Ed, I'm serious. We're sitting like lap to lap on this pew and he's like looking me in the eye. This is gonna happen. I want to pay you. I want you to make videos for me. I want you to go on tour with me. And I'm also going to Africa in August. I want you to be there with me and, you know, help me film the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, yes, yeah. I will. You know, this biggest opportunity in my life. And he goes, that's great. Big fat hug, shook my hand. He's like, it's gonna happen, man. You know, and he left for the rest of the tour. No contact information. I'm fucking emailing this guy and his record company. And I'm like I'm actually packing my shit.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to be gone for months at a time on a tour bus.
Yeah.
You know? And I finally get a hold of his record label or his manager or something. And I was like, I said the whole story. And then they replied back, yeah, that's not happening. And that was it. That was fucking it.
How random.
I know, right? So I think all of that hate for like people like him, fucking other two-faced Christian artists I've met, you know, when you go out and you actually like work in the Christian music industry, like these people are fucking trash, man.
Yeah.
And like, cause I've seen it within and
how crazy would it be?
Pastors.
Phil Wickham DMs you. Hey man, I heard the Genius.
I was a hypocrite and a jerk.
He's like, hey, listen, I actually deal with crazy anxiety and I was so embarrassed that I didn't get your fucking number and I left. That I couldn't contact you back because I was too embarrassed.
Dude, I hit him up, man. I hit up every kind of way of contact through his website or his record label or whatever. And it was just like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
You know? And I told that story of those three pastors who fucking like screwed me out for stupid fucking $1,000.
You know what it is too? It's for me, and I know this sounds really weird, right? I hold Christian people to a higher standard because you put yourself there.
Yeah.
You put yourself there. You're the one who talks about grace, about love, about kindness.
Exactly.
So because that is the mantle that you choose to be on, like that's you, I'm going to hold you to that fucking standard. So when somebody who's a piece of shit does piece of shit things, I'm not surprised, right?
Right.
But when you're out in the forefront and you talk about God's grace, God's love, and this is who you are, it is a major part of your fucking identity.
Yeah.
And then you do that type of stuff, of course it's going to sting a little bit more. I'm going to remember it a lot more than when that fucking piece of shit screwed me over.
Yeah.
Because I almost expected it out of them.
Right. And then you learn a lesson, like, I should have known better. But I fucking trusted you, Christian man.
Yeah. It's like, so when, you know, when people, you know what, there's layers to it. It's almost, I feel like that person is being very opportunistic about, you know, he's like, oh, I know that I have this Christ thing, so I can get to know this person a little more, and I could probably ask them, and they're a lot more comfortable with me.
Yeah.
And so you almost feel taken advantage of, and they're actually using their religion against you. It's layers to this shit. So, like recently too, there was a they're not Christian artists, but they were very forefront about their Christianity, right? This whole scandal came out about them. You know them, who they are too. And I love these people to death. They're really, really good people. But the reason why they're getting crucified so hard, or why they did and why they were so scared to reveal a lot of the bad stuff that they've done in the past, was simply because they put themselves on this Christian pedestal. Right. So when you do that, people expect a certain thing out of you.
Right.
And so, it was fear. They didn't want to talk about, all the dirt that they did in the past. Like, they had to deal with infidelity and everything else.
Yeah.
About them cheating and, all this, like having kids out of wedlock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you didn't put up this goody two shoes image of yourself,
yeah,
if you didn't make people feel like you were this perfect human being, whether you did it on purpose or not, you wouldn't have to have felt that you had to hide these flaws.
Yeah.
These flaws are inherently a human thing.
Yeah.
See, because I could say it right now too, people wonder on this podcast all the time, David, do you believe in God? I do. I grew up as a Christian my whole life. The problem with me is that, or maybe not the problem, is that the reason why I don't shine it in front of everybody else is because, number one, it makes me feel like I'm shitting on somebody else. It makes me feel like I'm saying I'm better than you. And I'm not. If anything else, I'm probably just as bad or worse.
Yeah.
Just
it's the fact that you're keeping it fucking real.
Yeah.
You walk your talk, and you fucking mean what you say when you say it, And I think I just got so fucking tired because you know where I'm coming from. Like, I sold my shit. I was homeless on purpose. I went to these other countries and stuff, and my whole reality breaking was just I'm coming home back to other Christians, and they're too scared, or they don't want to do the things. And so I questioned why I even did the things I did. Like, what is a Christian, And so, I would try to, I was trying to get into doing like Christian music industry stuff before I did any, like, whatever I'm doing now. And just meeting, like I said, shitty artists. Like, look, Samok's literally working with a guy I personally fucking hate too, from Seattle, And that was another thing. Like, I wanted to tell him, oh, and that guy you're working with, like, wait, he doesn't need to know that, know? But I have major fucking beef with him. And this fucking guy, so while I was still in Washington at my store, had the fucking gall to ask me to help him out with this next music video. And it's like, dog, I fucking hate you because of the music videos we've done.
Yeah.
Man. Like, he doesn't seem to see that we ever had a problem. He just like swept it under the rug, And I guess I was just getting triggered by Sam just for being who he is. But then I'm like blinded by that rage. Like, I can't get over. Like, I don't know how to just be like, yeah, it's cool. It's like, because I don't feel like it's cool.
And once again, it's I think it has a lot to do with, you expect something better from somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then it's cyclical. Like, you've seen this happen to you so many times. And so it's just like the last straw. It's like, why the fuck is it that every fucking Christian person I meet, these Christian artists who are supposed to be this example of holiness, fall so far from grace, but they get to still, gallivant around as if they are holy. Like, there's hypocrisy in it. And that's the part that bothers me a lot.
They live off of God's grace because God is forgiving them, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is this, like, if I was still a hardcore practicing Christian, then I'm supposed to forgive Sam because Christ died for me, right? He's forgave my sins. Therefore, who am I to be unforgiving, right? But when I let go of all that, a very unhealthy thing happened. I lost my concept of forgiveness, and I don't know how to forgive people anymore because Christ used to be the arbiter between, our beef. But now I'm like, he's out the picture. Now it's just you and me, motherfucker, Yeah. How about what is the apology without Jesus kind of thing? But he said it. He said it actually didn't have much to do about Jesus. He just said he was a hypocrite.
You know what's interesting?
I don't know why I can't get over it.
I don't know if when you say that, I don't know if I really forgive people. I think I have an ability to say, you're dead to me. And then I move on. I just go, oh, you're a piece of shit? You're dead. There are some people too, they don't understand. They think this is heartless. There's a lot of people I know but people I don't like. If they died tomorrow, I'd have no problem shitting on their grave.
Like, it's kind of like when I see a dead cat, like, I don't even like cats. So I don't care.
Yeah, like I could literally, and people get so turned off by that. They go, "Oh, why would you say such a thing?" It's like, because I don't fucking care about you. I actually dislike you. There are a few people in this entertainment space. If they fucking died tomorrow, I'd be like, bro, I hope I get to see your grave so I could make a picnic on it.
Man, then, so much more oxygen to have for myself now. Now that you're not
I would have a picnic on your gravesite and eat the foods that you hated the most. You piece of fucking shit. I know quite a few people like that.
Yeah.
But for me, like, and I always talk about like forgiveness is healing, right? If you can truly forgive somebody, it makes you feel better because it's not on your heart and your conscience anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I've done it so well. Maybe my version of forgiveness is more like, I just don't have space for you.
It's gone. Yeah.
Like I literally feel nothing about you. When you succeed, whether you fail, anything about it, I feel absolutely nothing.
Right. Okay. I think my concept of forgiveness is, like I said, still stuck on the way Christianity goes about forgiveness, and I just couldn't get over the hump of, how do you even forget? How am I going to fucking forget this shit?
Yeah. Also too, it's just like, forgiveness also has to do with an idea of grace, right? Let's say aside from God, right? It's like, would you want somebody to be able to forgive you the same way that you could forgive this person? Right. If you truly became a better person and you apologized, it would be nice if that person forgives you or not. The difference is that the power is really within you. You don't have to forgive somebody, right? Just because somebody apologizes doesn't mean you have to accept it. Whether that person feels a certain way about it or not, if they go, well, that's unfair, doesn't fucking matter. You do not say sorry expecting that person to forgive you. You say sorry because you know that you fucked up, and that's where you leave it at. So, the forgiveness part is completely up to you, whether you want to or not. It's just that I know that when you do forgive, it just feels better. Right. It feels better for you.
Yeah, I'm even reading a self-help book about it, and then it's just like their forgiveness things. Just forget it. Like, this shit doesn't fucking help. You're gonna have to let it go. What the fuck? Like, what am I, Raya?
What is this? What is this, a shitty fucking Disney film?
I know. But I think to disarm myself too. Like, I think the fucking threats I made were like a projection of just what I want to say to other people and all the people that hurt me. It's not like what he did really fucked my shit up, It was just like that anger I had just carried on, and I just pointed it at him. Yeah. Right. And then that's at least the kind of peace I can go towards, be like, I don't think I really meant I was going to fuck this guy up. Yeah. I just had this anger and it went on him.
I just don't even like being angry anymore. That's why, just to go back to what we were talking about before, like the trauma porn. Yeah. It's hard for me to do that now. It's hard for me to get super angry because it literally eats away at my very soul. Like, it kills me on the inside. It feels like I'm rotting on the inside, and every time I watch more of it, I will watch it more and more, no matter how it makes me feel. It actually makes me feel fucking terrible, and it doesn't cause me to do stuff for positive change. So what am I really doing here? Yeah. Like, I just hate feeling that way.
See, then that's now my problem, right? It's not like I have Sam Ock porn. I'm sorry, that was sounding bad. Sam Ock content.
This will just play Christian music with his dick on an acoustic guitar.
Sam Ock content. It's not like I'm scrolling through his shit, It's not like I'm actively looking at what he's up to or whatever. It's just in my head.
It's just layers of it.
Yeah, I'm just getting into my own, time machine in my brain, or just putting in the movie again and replaying what made me angry.
Like, even getting it's weird because now I probably will never ever get into a fight, right? But there's moments where I get really disappointed in myself when I get fucking angry, because I had to go through anger management and counseling because I didn't know how to deal with my fucking rage. Yeah. And there are flashbacks of my life when I was younger where I remember just going red. And it's bad. There was this one time when I was in high school, and when I get irritated and mad, that's why, like, even when Mariel and I used to fight a lot, I always tell her, give me space, because I need the space, because I need
to nuke.
Right? Yeah, because I'm going to fucking explode. Not hurt her, but just like hurt myself. I'll punch a wall. I'll break something, Yeah. It's stupid shit, Yeah. But like, there was this one time I remember I was kind of like sick of getting bullied so much. And so at this point, it's like, you know what? anybody can fucking get it. I don't give a fuck, right? And so there's this AM PM really close to my house. I used to get like Arizona iced teas at all the time after I played basketball. Well, one time I was there with a couple of homies, and these weren't like high school friends. These were friends that I grew up near my parents' store, and they're very bad people. But when you're like around these group of people, and we were talking about this with the China Mac podcast, how you kind of emulate their behaviors. But because I felt like such an insignificant, insecure little bitch, I always had to one up and do more things, right? And that would just lead to just me being unnecessarily angry all the fucking time, because I always thought there was somebody who thought of me as lesser than, who thought they could punk me and bully me. And I shit you fucking not. I'm not even sure I told this on the podcast. Well, this is a big part of my shame. So when I get angry, I always think about this time of how uncouth and how uncultured and how stupid I was. There's this dude. And when I tell the story, you might think that this guy deserved it, because I was walking outside and I was wearing this like big baggy pink t-shirt. It was like a pink t-shirt. And at the time, wearing pink wasn't really cool. But when I liked pink. And so I was wearing that shit. And I was walking outside the AM PM. This guy walked at me, goes, "What's up, faggot?" Calls me a faggot. Whoa. I don't even blink. I turn around and I just start wailing on him. I'm talking about fist to his fucking teeth. I cracked his face so fucking hard, I actually knocked out either like the side tooth or it was like the two front teeth. And I just kept wailing on him. Bow, bow, bow. And the only thing I could think about was, number one, I don't even think I was that angry. It was, number one, I got angry because the idea that somebody out there could think that I'm a little bitch, and he was doing it in front of these people who I was trying to prove to myself that I was something that I wasn't. And I think about that type of rage and I get embarrassed and I get ashamed. So like when I think about anger and rage, I always go back to that one moment where I remember after that too, by the way, I went home and I cried. Like I cried because I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, why did you do that? Like, you literally just beat the shit out of this guy.
You could have died, or you could be in jail.
I could have killed that guy for what? For what the fuck was I doing?" But I used to be so angry all the time. I hate anger. I don't like being angry anymore. And I did that just to prove a fucking point. Like, what was the point of this? Like, why am I so mad all the time? Sometimes when I think of it, that shit haunts me, because it's like, dude, I literally mauled this dude for no fucking reason. Because he called me a faggot. What was the point of this? Why did you do that? When I look at anger, I look at stupidity now. It's like, unless it's like directed at the right place, I'm creating content, I'm doing something purposeful with it. But when I carry rage like that for no reason, it reminds me of a time where I was really stupid. That's why I don't like being angry anymore. Because it makes you do dumb things. When I get mad like that, I start feeling disappointed in myself. Because I remember that time where I punched this dude. I literally beat the shit out of this guy. And by the way, I don't feel good about it either, because he wasn't even near my size. He was like a dude that was like maybe 5'7", 5'8". I'm like 6'1". And I wailed on this dude and I beat the shit out of him for no fucking reason. So when I think about rage, I think about how stupid it is. Like, this is dumb. When most people talk about fights, when people confront you like that, you can walk away most of the time. 99.9% you can walk away. Edric told us one fucking story where there was these vatos that were sitting outside of a liquor store. Edric had his socks rolled up all the way high. Like, walked up, he goes, "What's up, fool? What the fuck your socks so high for? Roll them down." What? You know what Edric did? The motherfucker rolled his socks down. And he went in and he got his fucking drinks. Rage, it eats away at you. I don't want to do anything in life that takes away from me anymore. I just refuse. I don't want to do it anymore. It's like the same reason why I lost weight. Why did I carry this weight here? It's eating away at me. Just these excuses that I make about why I'm big, why I want to stay fat. Same thing with rage. It just takes too much. Anger takes too much from me, and I get nothing in return. I literally get nothing.
That's true. I guess what my excuse is justice. Like, but this happened to me and it wasn't fair.
He's 5'2". God got him. He's a nice little 5'2" guy. He's shaped like a Lego. What's it?
That's what I mean. Like, why am I so angry at him? And I don't think it's him. It was just my rage against the church and Christianity all around in general, the quote unquote Christian industry too. That I think that's what I'm carrying. And the excuse also being that, like, I don't want to let go of this resentment until I see blood. But it's like, is that true, man?
I mean, we think that, but every time you're never going to be satisfied. Let's say whatever sense of justice that you have, it gets fulfilled. Well, when you're going to get angry about something else, and then you're going to have to quench that sense of justice again, over and over and over. And it's a never ending well. You just can't fill this well up. It doesn't happen that way, That's why now when I get angry, I literally just have to let it go. because I know for a fact I have a very short amount of time on this earth. If I carry every second that I waste being mad at somebody, they're literally taking away from me. It's like those kids that we make fun of online where I make a joke or a comment or I have an opinion about something they disagree with. And I find it hilarious that they're sitting there in their room brewing and upset that they have to type this thing that they want me to fucking die. And it makes me laugh. But I've now taken away joy from them.
Yeah.
That they can't get back. Yeah. And it makes me laugh. I refuse to give that to somebody else.
Right. So I guess what I ultimately have to do is just grow the fuck up.
I mean, it's so weird because the simplistic solution is what that book says, right? You just have to learn how to let it go.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I look at it as it's not so much just letting go too. It's like, this is better for me. Yeah. Like I'm gaining something now rather than losing time wasting it on this bullshit. That's why now on the podcast, I mentioned it before, I like positive comments because those people are the ones that deserve my attention. Even ones that they disagree with what I'm saying, I still like it.
Yeah.
As long as somebody's not calling me a fucking loser or some weird shit, I'm not going to like their comment, you know?
It's probably because I'm like recognizing the radicalization of me where I was so fucking hardcore Christian. And now I'm like, you know what? I actually made a vow. I made a vow when I left the church where I was like, none of these fucking Christians I know a goddamn fucking thing about Jesus.
Yeah.
None of them actually know a thing about theology or even salvation, you know? And I literally said, I vow to take down every fake fucking Christian I see with the knowledge I have of how the Bible actually, you know, what it means and what it says and what Jesus means kind of thing. And that's the crazy part. That's supposed to be the word of life. Mm-hmm. Using it against them now.
Yeah.
Like I'll straight up pull up verses to show how fucking fake Christians are, you know? And okay, so I'm going to tell this story. The first time I was on your podcast, I told this story about those pastors and what I experienced leaving my church because I had a bad drug problem and they didn't do a goddamn fucking thing, even though I confessed these things. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was just like, fuck it, fuck them all. But this one kid, he's like 22. His name is Ed Park.
Okay.
Right? Super nice kid. Really great kid. And he texted me and he's like, I heard the podcast. Like, that's so great. I didn't know any of this about you. That's the general kind of message I got from the old church people. It was like, whoa, Edward, we didn't know you went to Iraq, or we didn't know you did I was like, you guys never asked me.
Yeah. I was gone for a year.
Yeah. None of you guys wanted to get to know me.
Yeah.
And I was just stood in the back. And then what I heard from people was like, oh, that's Ed. He's a Christian, but he like cusses a lot. You know, and he smokes.
Hey, fuck you, guy. In the blood of Jesus Christ, fuck you. How about that?
For God loved the world so fucking much that he gave his one and only fucking son.
Yeah.
You know, and I was so upset like that, man, you guys couldn't do the basic thing of asking me for my testimony. And now you guys are shocked about everything I know. And you want to get to know me now. And I was so resentful of that. And then I actually went off on this kid about that. I was like, dude, why didn't you just fucking ask me, you know? I was like, now, like, look at me. Like, you could be me in 15 years, dude. Like, either you can grow up and be a faithful man, or you look at me, just be a drug addict, fucking degenerate, you know, who vows to take down Christians. And I told him too, it's like, I know the Bible way more than you, you know, like, what are you going to do about it? And I said this shit to him that probably questioned his existence, you know? But his answer was like, well, I guess I should read the Bible. I need to learn theology, you know? And I was like, yeah, good. Don't be Ed Park me in the future. It's like, you have a way better chance if you do it the right way, man, you know?
You know, it also kind of brings up the subject and the topic of, you know, what's better? Is it better to know Christ as when you didn't know him growing up, or is it better to know Christ just when it was forced upon you as a kid?
Right.
Because a lot of these kids who grow up in these churches, they don't know God.
Right.
They don't know God. They don't know scripture. They don't know theology because it was a given to them. You are in my family, thus you believe in God.
Yeah.
There are people who have accepted like Christ later on in life, whether they had that epiphany or a revelation to them, and they seek God in a different way. Or we could call it God or truth or whatever the fuck that it is.
Right. Or they needed it, right? They needed an answer, or they had a crisis or whatever. They needed hope. those things like that they rest in. And then there's literally 90+% of them like who just like, hey, they could have grown up in a Buddhist family and just felt the exact same way about Buddhism, right? Yeah. Just depending on their environment or who they were born to.
Like the weird thing is for me is like my biggest aversion towards Christianity is Christians.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. That's why I hate going to church, because I have to be around these people.
Yeah.
It's like they come up to me and they're like, hey, how are you? You should come to our small group. And then the first thing I want to say is like, I will break your fucking teeth and get away from me.
It's just, you can like feel the fakeness, or you can feel this forced thing. Like you say this every week to everybody. Yeah. And you just hope that there's a chance that somebody will show up. That's like, one of the guys from the pickup whatever people. Oh yeah. I remember I was hanging out with one of those guys with Abe, and everywhere we went, he would hit up on every girl and like
same pickup line, same thing.
All that. And to them, it's a game of statistics. Like if I hit up 100 girls, one girl will say yes. Yeah. So, and that's like, if Christians, you take a good look at yourself about the way you go about doing your thing. Pickup artists. Yeah, it's weird. Like, because even when you bring that up, like there's a church that I like to go to when they were open, and the biggest reason why is because they don't talk to me. Yeah. I go in. No pressure. I'll say hi. I'll say good morning. That feels great. But when they start pressuring me to come into small group and all this other stuff and tell me what I should or shouldn't do, that's where I draw the line. I'm like, I come here because I want to listen to scripture. Yeah. And I want to learn these life lessons, and it makes me feel good. The moment they start coming to me and they're like, yo, come over to small group, I'm like, I will break your legs. I don't know. It's just this weird space I have with my faith. Like, I like Christianity. I don't like the people. Right. And I don't know how that works for me. So part of my therapy when I was leaving Washington was, the radicalization, where I was just so fucking angry and done with this racism shit that I started recognizing my generalization of just white people in general, where I can't trust nobody. None of them are good. And I'm like, wait, that's not fucking true. It's like 2 fucking assholes made me angry today out of the hundreds that came through, So one of the things I talked to my therapist was just like, I don't want to be a racist, and I can see my little ticks of it, like the generalization, just the resentment and the anger and things. And what they suggested was like, so you just have to meet good white people in your life and put more focus on them, which is why I hang out with Dan all the time. But Dan's barely white, dude. That fool's so fucking Korean, he's so dude. Korean on it, but he's all bread on the outside. Yeah. But yeah, like, in the other case too, just dealing with like, why the fuck am I so angry at this guy? I was like telling myself, maybe I need to put more focus on the good Christians that are out there. Hard to fucking find, but the good Christians that are out there. You my friend Sam Mock? I'll tell you what. I met a guy at Kenny's house. He's a pastor at a pretty major church here in LA, and I didn't even know he was the pastor there. And we were just chilling, talking, hanging out, and I was sharing. And we talked about Christianity too. I didn't even know he was a pastor of this church. And he was the coolest dude and talking me through it. And then I looked at his Instagram. He's the pastor of a major church, And I was like, fuck. And he still keeps in touch with me. It's like, it's a great guy, Yeah. Like, focus on that. There are good Christians out there. Yeah. Not that it's going to like make me want to go back and like do that crazy lifestyle again. But then... I wouldn't suggest you going on a nomad in like Korea and like a nomadic journey, getting kicked out of churches from church, left and right. I would never do that shit. Even in my crazed moments of like my hardcore belief, no, that's not happening. They're like, hey, do you believe in God? I'd be like, yes, I do believe in God. Do you really believe in God, David? I 100% do. I want you to go to Korea and I want you to walk around from church to church. I'm like, listen, there are other religions out there. That do not require me to do this crazy talk. Yeah. What are you talking about? I feel like now, because I've experienced so many different type of people, like, I think that if I wanted to be like a racist, I could be the best racist ever, dude. It seems easy to be that dumb, right? Yeah. You just have to say like the most ridiculous shit. Dude, I remember sometimes when I go online and I hear how racism and almost stupidity kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like the way
like there's so many like logical fallacies in how they think, but there's a lot of people who kind of corroborate their thoughts that make them believe that they're the smartest person in the room. Like you'll hear like this by the way is nothing that I've read before, but it'll be like some shit like, I don't know, it's like, my name is Cletus and I'm here to talk about diversity. Well, a lot of homosexuals talk about diversity, don't they? Well, how diverse is it to be in a couple with 2 dicks? and then people will be like, well, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's a confirmation bias soup.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's a circle jerk. They're just jerking each other off, right?
Like I make a joke about that, but that's the type of shit that you see online, and they have like thousands of fucking likes. Like, how diverse is that? Guess they don't like their own fucking medicine. Kind of tastes a little bitter, doesn't it? I think diversity is when you have a vagina and a penis in one fucking couple. Those are 2 separate things.
You don't put the gasoline pump into the exhaust pipe. Okay, a real pastor said that once at a church. I was like,
out of here, dude.
A famous one, Judah Smith, Justin Bieber's pastor. I used to go to his youth group, bro.
Oh my God.
I heard him say that shit, dude. He brought in a guest speaker. It was this crazy dude from Louisiana, and like he was just fucking ragging on Rosie O'Donnell. He's like, how dare Rosie O'Donnell point her fat finger and judge the president of the United States, George W. Bush. He is my friend and he is a man of God, right? And then he'd go off like, evolution. How can evolution be true? Do you know how complicated the human eyeball is? You know, evolution says that a swamp can produce a beautiful Coke can. What? And I'm like, that is not fucking evolution.
What evolution says that shit.
And he'd say shit like, you know, if someone in your family or your friends is dying of cancer, it's because they have no faith. You need to have faith. You know, guess what? His wife died of cancer.
Get the fuck out of it.
And then years later, I read it in the news. Like,
oh my God. Did he go? Because my wife was a fucking charlatan.
Yeah, you should, right? If you want to follow your theology.
She never fucking believed. That's why she got the titty cancer. She got the mastectomy. That's the problem with her, right? For fucking titties didn't believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so all these crazy shit and stories, like, I guess I'm like still holding on with the anger part of that, you know? I mean, that shit doesn't make me angry. It's just ridiculous and like funny to tell now. But yeah, I to get over it is definitely more or less now a maturity thing, I think. Yeah. For my peace of mind, because I think I'm still hurting like the same 23-year-old. Yeah. You know? That's probably what's going on.
I mean, it's easier said than done, but you're going to have to let it go eventually. Yeah. I mean, we're in our 30s now. Like, what the fuck?
That's true. So, Sam, like, just give me a minute for me to respond, all right?
Yeah, just give me a second, dude. Yeah. Just write a song about it, and then maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll probably get over that someday.
I mean, you'll be fine, man. I think, like, you're in this weird phase where I think you just moved back to LA, and now you have time to kind of think about these thoughts that you weren't allowed to think about before because you had to worry about your mom, you had to worry about the store, you had to worry about some dudes trying to rip your balls off in the middle of a liquor store. There's like, but this is what pandemic did to a lot of people, though. All these times that we were able to distract ourselves by doing activities, hanging out with friends, drinking, going out, was taken away from us. There are so many people now during this pandemic that have forced them to think. They didn't have that time before. They're left in this room. They're left in this house. They're like, okay, well, now that I can't go out, I'm left with these thoughts that I have to face to face. And it fucking bothered them. Right. You know, I think for me, like I do it so often now, pandemic didn't really do much to me. It just made me go, oh, okay, I just have to make a shift. But other people, it really made them look in a mirror. They had to be faced with themselves. It was hard for a lot of people. It happened to a lot of people's relationships. It happened to me and Mariel's relationship during this pandemic. We almost broke up because of it. So that's that truth revealing process that you're going through right now. It's just very sudden and it's very, very concentrated.
Yeah, it's raw.
You know,
it's fresh.
You're in your own place now, right? And you're left with these thoughts. And sometimes like being left with your thoughts is a very scary thing. Yeah. I think that's why sometimes that's why people distract themselves with their phones. People can't be left alone with their thoughts. They have to be on their phone. Even me now, I have to shower and I bring my phone in me with why? How come I can't just not look at this stuff?
Yeah.
It's because I want to distract myself from real work or real ideas, you know?
That's true. And one of the biggest things that I realized too is that everyone's going crazy. Not crazy, but everyone's going through maybe a situation like this, you know, because everyone had to deal with this pandemic, and that I'm not alone, you know, but then the healthy process is what so many people just don't know, right? And I think that's what scares me too, that I'm just like feeding myself hate, you know, and I'm trying to find a healthy way through being in my own thoughts because I'm just stuck with them, right? We're all stuck with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. I hope you guys took something away from this. Samuel Ock, my friend, my good friend. I know there's 2 podcasts out here where you got shat on. It's
not totally your fault, right?
He's dealing with a lot of stuff, brother. Yeah. Sam will be on this podcast when he's in town. Yeah, I mean, great musician, by the way. He makes great producer. You guys see all of his stuff. But Genius Brain Podcast every Thursday and Sundays, and you can catch Ed at Ed Park VP at all platforms. And we'll see you all next time.
Peace.
Peace.